Hello, this is Greg Alice on Galactic. Greg's guys, SpaceX Starship has been grounded as a result of the launch. So maybe some of you heard this, but I'm going to tell you something you've not heard with regards to public safety. Well, you actually heard it on my channel to a point, but I'm going to make it a little bit further point with that. According to one article that I've seen, concrete was actually thrown from the pad by the world's most powerful rocket ever fired, 6.5 miles. 6.5 miles, chunks of concrete. Concrete chunks covered a beach. Concrete chunks went into the ocean. Guys, that rocket drilled a pit, a crater, like a well right underneath the launch pad. Now, we all know, and we've seen a lot of other people already talking on other channels about how they needed a flame bucket and a water deluge system. And yeah, that probably would have stopped all that mess. But there's other issues at hand here too. It's not just that. That's the biggest one. That's the one that caused the immediate effects that we've seen. But you know, guys, so the Starship was sitting on a pad, huge concrete pad underneath it. Not sent now back when we had like a little rockets like a V2 rocket or a Redstone rocket, you know, they could launch them still like that without flame buckets and stuff. But NASA and other organizations that develop rockets real fast transition to having these flame trenches and having the water deluge system. The water deluge stops the acoustics because that's huge sound shock waves vibrate coming off the plume. The blast of the rocket itself does tremendous damage if you don't find some way to suppress it, and that's what the water deluges are for. The flame buckets are to divert the flame. Well, that flame just went out everywhere. Well, it went straight down and out everywhere. It threw chunks of concrete all over the place like crazy, guys. You know, they had some vans set up to try to video this thing up front. Those things got pummeled by big basketball-sized chunks of concrete. There were huge concrete blocks. I mean, huge blocks just being thrown. I mean, a tornado or a hurricane can't even throw all that kind of stuff. But guys, if this rocket had been full thrust, it would have been like 16.6 million pounds of thrust, I believe, but it was like probably more like 15 because some of the Raptor engines, some of the 33 Raptor engines didn't light it initially. And then one had like lit, went out. I think it come back on. By the time they got higher up, several went out. Now, this could be as a result of chunks of concrete kicked up into the rocket. We see in flight one of the auxiliary power units, which runs the hydraulics that gives you the thrust vector control so they point the rocket where they want to go, blew up. Now, that might have just maybe have had something to do with loss of control. Now, another thing, when you saw it coming off the pad, you know, let me see if I can find something to simulate a pad. Yeah, here we go. Let's say this is your launch tower, and this is your rocket. You know, what you don't want to have happen is a rocket to collide with a launch tower. If you do, it all goes boom, and this goes away. So the rocket's got to rise straight up. That's usually what they try to do. This rocket, they actually did this a little bit. Now they claim that was their maneuver to keep it from doing this. That might have been, but it went this way for a fair bit, and it wasn't straight up as it went away, at least initially. It could have also been due to problems with thrust vector controlling or maybe some engine outs. But there's a whole lot of Gimlin engines underneath the Starship, so it's kind of hard to say that was really what was at fault there. And it might have been a planned maneuver. That's what they're saying about it right now. And this is a Starship prototype, not prototype. This is a 1/200th scale model, 3D printed by my friend Ben Husett. He made me two of them, by the way. One of them was over there somewhere. It's kind of, he had flexible wings on them. We got tore up. So guys, what have we got in the room so far? Oh, I'm not even looking at my. That ain't even my chat room. What's going on here? Something is wrong. What channel? I thought I had it on my channel. I'm just trying to get my chat room back, guys. There we are. So, we got 21. There you guys are. I opened this chat room. I was in somebody else's chat room. There's a fuel leak, which doesn't allow the right amount of pressure to deliver the fuel. Yeah, I think they lost some thrust. Another thing you can see is when it's at altitude, it fell the stage. You know, you got a lower stage underneath this. And so I got an analog to it. And my analog to that is somewhere else. It was like a two-stage system, you know. So like, here we go. We got super heavy, and we got Starship upper stage. Well, it's supposed to break apart, and they've said that part of it they don't have all the hardware other rockets normally have to break them apart. They usually got some ejection pistons and other things, or some pyrotechnics. You usually have clamps that are pyrotechnically separated, or explosive bolts, or a combination of frangible joints around the vehicle that can break. So apparently there was a maneuver involved to try to shake it off, and it didn't shake off. And then the next thing you know, the whole thing went into a somersault. Actually, the fact that that vehicle stuck together while it was going, end over end in a somersault, never seen that with a launch vehicle before. All of the launch vehicles would have broken up. It's a tough vehicle. And with all the concrete it was swinging around, it's amazing it didn't lose more engines than this. It's a very tough vehicle. It's a very powerful vehicle. And it needs to be to accomplish its mission. It needs to be tough. It needs to be powerful. It needs to be resilient. It's probably the most resilient rocket ever built. The Raptor engine is probably the best rocket engine ever developed. It's the most quoting Lee. Was Lee saying I'm sorry? But the fact that it's the most powerful rocket in the world also begs questions about safety. So what we saw was the cloud ejected. There was a huge dust cloud came out, and it was just full of all kinds of debris. There was sand settling in Port Isabel. Windows were shaken and busted in Port Isabel, which is 6 miles away. Residents said it was like an earthquake. The ground was actually really moving under their feet. That's how strong this launch was. Well, a lot of that was because of the acoustics and the fact that they didn't have a water deluge system to suppress the acoustics, and have a flame diverter to divert the flame. And Elon got in a hurry. He got in a hurry, and when you get in a hurry, sometimes it winds up costing you more time. Now he's under a ground. He's been grounded by the FAA. They're going to do an accident or mishap investigation, about this event. It's not the blowing up of the rocket. They set that off. It's about, what caused, well, they'll probably look at that too, but it's mainly what happened on the ground and what will happen on the next flight. Well, there's more to it than that, though. We've already seen this rocket, without blowing up on the ground, throw stuff 6.5 miles. If it had exploded at the pad, it would have been a very bad day in Port Isabel. Very bad. The spaceship has the whole stack, super heavy mainly, and Starship. They have over twice the propellant of a Saturn V or an N1 rocket. And we always said if a Saturn V went off, it'd be like a small nuke. Well, that's exactly what happened when the N1 rocket blew up, falling back to the launch pad on the 3rd of July, 1969. It was the largest non-nuclear man-made explosion. We're fortunate that we didn't have a new record set for the largest man-made explosion on the 20th of this month, 420. Yeah, that number. SpaceX did smoke one on 420. Fortunately, it wasn't worse. It could have been worse. If Starship explodes on the pad, it will not be a pretty day, because N1 slung a considerable amount of debris 6 miles. 6 miles is in range of Port Isabel. Those industrial facilities are closer than that, but the homes are like 6 miles out. Boca Chica is only 2 miles away. I did a video on this channel 2 years ago, I believe, and I asked if SpaceX was going to nuke Boca Chica by having an inadvertent, rapid, unassembled, or unscheduled disassembly, rapid, unscheduled disassembly, RUD, explosion. Now, I'd say what happened was Starship was not a rapid, unscheduled disassembly because they pushed the buttons to make it go. But you will notice if you see it in the altitude, maybe I'll show a picture of it, that there were several discrete points burning. Instead of having an entire flight termination system that runs down the whole thing that you'd set off with a ordnance that caused the whole side of it rip open. Apparently, they just used some points, but they thought that'd be good enough. Well, the rocket didn't blow up as soon as they set the FTS off. That's one of the other things that the range and FAA was going to look at real hard. Says, well, that wasn't good enough. But what I worry about the most is the safety of Port Isabel. The environmentalists are just going crazy. The environmentalists were unhappy when one of the previous just upper stages exploded. Actually, it flung debris about 6 miles, but not heavy debris, nothing like Starship. And it was not even fully fueled in. It was coming back and blew up. And the Starship has much less fuel than the whole stack. It's super heavy. It's got by far the most fuel in it. So, yeah, I'm going to do a video soon also talking about the prospects of this thing landing on the moon. It ain't going to happen as a first event. I'll talk about that in another video coming up, guys. I'll explain what that ain't going to work. No. That's NASA's plan right now. It's got huge issues. And so we'll be talking about that. They got to make some changes to make that work. Big changes. All right. All right. What are y'all? Anton and Arnold, are y'all feuding? There was another YT channel that spent 2 hours covering the aftermath. Oh, several. And I'm not going to spend 2 hours on it because it's already been covered in the nth degree. I'm just kind of giving them video and pictures. You've already seen all that. What you haven't seen, what you haven't heard, what you're not getting from those other channels is what the safety engineers are going to tell you. There's something known as quantity distance. That's how far you expect a given explosive to fling stuff. And you want to have nothing within the quantity distance area that can come to harm. I don't think we can say that about Port Isabel. So how is it that the FAA even allows them to launch from Boca Chica? The FAA's main job is public safety. We're also going to look at environment safety. The environmentalists were up in arms, and so much so that the FAA put 75 checkpoints on SpaceX before they grant this launch license. 75 checkpoints. Most of them had to do with environment. Now they've flung rocks and stuff all over places with endangered species. Some that are unique to that area. Dust, rocks. It was raining concrete in the Gulf of Mexico offshore there. Yeah, the environmentalists are, the beach is trashed. People in Port Isabel are nervous. Some of them are mad. Maybe some are glad. They saw a huge launch. It was an event, but I think it scared them. When they felt the ground shaking, that scared them, and rightly so. That's a very powerful rocket, and it should be. But it should be launched at sea. That's what nobody else is saying. There's, oh, well, eventually SpaceX will take these things out to sea to launch them. They plan to eventually launch them from barges and oil rigs. Well, SpaceX has bought 2 oil rigs for this purpose. We call Phobos and Deimos, named after the moons of Mars. And that's where they want to go, Mars. Not necessarily the moons of Mars, they want to go to Mars. And yeah, this is what you ain't getting nowhere else. You're right, Zen Jimin. All these other channels talk tons of stuff and just recap the mission. So that's why I want to bring you something different. I'm a big fan of having this kind of capability, and nobody can do it like SpaceX. And the rocket is amazing, but they're taking risks that could shut them down for good, and they're already getting a shutdown. So they're just over getting the fact that they thought they could short shift what everybody else does, putting flame buckets in and water deluge. You know, sometimes Elon takes too many risks. So yeah, well, you got to take risks and break things to do engineering really well, I think, and that's something NASA's adverse to. But that's good. But when it comes to public safety, you need to think it. I mean, when he put his launch facility there, I said, what was he thinking? He's 2 miles from Boca Chica, and Port Isabel's 6 miles away. I picked up, you know, my previous videos. I talked more about Boca Chica. It's a town 2 miles. Jeez. And he tried to buy everybody out of that town. There's a few that didn't sell though. They might after this. Can you imagine having a house 2 miles from all that stuff? Ooh-wee. If that will wake them up, I hope. You swamp gas and the power of super. Okay, yeah, Sub-Zero. Meat Puppet Joe is an experimental rocket. Would make a marvelous meatloaf. Hey, Vicky, there you are. Haven't seen you in forever. Vicky, how are you? I was planning to try to call you. I don't know if I have your number. Hey, Vicky, I've got some county. You need to send me your address. I got some county tax thing for you here. The 4-letter words that are the parents of all 4-letter words that we don't want to hear, or oops and uh-oh. Yeah. Vicky, hadn't seen you in a while. I was starting to get worried about you. If we could capture the use of the swamp. Yes, there you go. From DC. Oh my gosh. Yeah, you have an inexhaustible supply. No kidding. Fly infinite number of balloons too with all the hot air. Hot air and swamp gas. You got that right. Yeah, it's good to see you, Vicky. I've been worried about you. Hadn't seen you in a while. All right, guys. So that's the bottom line. That they really need, you know, look, it's probably going to be a year before they get launched again. This would be a good time, a good opportunity. Hey, somebody get this to people at SpaceX. This would be a good time to really consider, can you set up those barges and operate off them now? Because if you have a mishap on the pad that messes up Port Isabel, forget it. Game over, guys. Game over. And it should be. You should know better than that. Well, don't put worn out tires on a brand new Mustang and go racing. Oh my gosh, guys. When I was, 16, 17 and immortal, I had an old Mercury Monterey, ginormous land yacht with a 390 engine in it. And I swear my tires weren't nothing but balloons. And I thought the whole object of driving it was keep the speedometer as far to the right as it go. And it registered 120. And I kept it over the right of 120. Way too much. It had bad brakes too. So I must have some Elon blood in me. We may be kindred spirits in way too many ways. I've taken my risk and I have run from rockets a couple times in my life. I have literally, well, one time I hid behind a tree. I didn't run. But on the deck of the NASA's Pearl River barge, I was running. The Space Launch 2 rocket was coming right at me. It's hanging today in the Strait to El Brewery in Huntsville, Alabama. If you go in the main entrance, you look up to the left, there it is. Well, the raccoon sitting on top of it. A raccoon for the raccoon. Coughing violently. Oh, Anton. I am quiet doesn't mean I am gone. Well, it is good to see and hear from you, Vicky. I was worried about you. So, hope you're healthy. Hope everything's going well for you. I probably have a piece of mail that you probably need. All right, guys. So, I have a feeling Elon watches Greg real close. Let's hope so. Or maybe somebody in his group with SpaceX before this took. They really need to think hard about getting this thing out to sea to launch. I think the capability that they're developing is vital to our future. I think it needs to be done and it needs to be rushed. Well, it needs to move fast. Don't want to rush it to the point that you're not safe. I think they did that. I really think they did that. Angry astronaut threw a fit over it. Now he believes that SpaceX is going to be the holdup on the moon landing. And I think he's right, but for other reasons, which I will talk about in another video. I'm going to come up with another video and I'm going to talk about the challenges of landing a Starship on the moon. It's going to be a problem. It can be done if certain things are done first, which means you're not putting the first landing on the moon in a full-scale Starship. I think not. My home opinion, those who put the narrative above productivity should be made to eat their own narrative. Good. Want your weed? Yeah, we're not in the weed here, Anton. Keep your weed. Not gonna find many takers here for that. All righty. So that was my whole point. That's what I want to talk about. Also, let me share a couple screens. I might actually play a little video, just a snippet. You can't do more than a snippet without getting a potential violation of the copyright stuff. Here it is. Now this is the Space Race channel playing SpaceX video. This is the SpaceX video, I think, because it's got the timer on it. Now SpaceX will hit you with a copyright strike so fast your head is spin. So I will editorialize it as I'm allowed to, and only play just a very little snippet. There it is, guys. Whoop, it went away. Never mind. Like I said, very little snippet. Oh, there was a brief view of the payout. Whoa, wait a minute. What in the world they show junk like that for? Kill that channel. Kill it. How come I hit the X and it don't go away? Anyway, yeah, I don't read their narrative. Guys, here's the other news. We had a new launch of the Virgin Galactic Spaceship 2, the one called Unity. They got another name, Imagine, I think. There's two of them. You got two of them. These are shinier spaceships, but it's got some issues, guys. I'll talk about those soon. This is Virgin Galactic. Guys, it's only been 20 years since Burt Rutan won the X Prize. And all my friends, I was at a space conference right after that, and all the friends were hooping and hollering, yeah, we're going to have space tourism in a year. I said, no, you're not. Oh, they got so mad at me, you'd think they'd jerk my eyeballs out. They were furious at me. I said, it's not happening in a year. I said, space is hard. It's not going to happen. Oh, they got this, they got that. Yeah, there's no way it ain't going to happen. It's going to happen. We're going to have space tourism in a year, blah, 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 blah. Oh, they got mad at me. They were, what do you want to fight me? I'm saying, no, it ain't going to happen. Not that fast. It's taking longer than even I thought, though. Yeah, it's tough, guys. It's tough. I'm strange enough, I don't need or want any chemical assistance. I'm high on life. Yeah, life is too interesting. All right, guys. So there we are. That is the latest breaking news is the Virgin Galactic. Let's hope they make it safe, but I got a lot of concerns about that vehicle. I'll talk about that later. All right, stop the share. Halo. I know something about the Virgin Galactic system because I got the daddy of its engine. Well, actually, the daddy of the Spaceship 1 engine, the granddaddy of the Spaceship 2 engine, sitting right here. This has been fired. This is my Heart Cat Surprise fuel grain. Now, who else? What other YouTuber sits with an actual fired rocket motor next to his desk? I use this as the table from my laptop that I watch your chat room on. You can see the video playing right there. Isn't that funny? See? That's how I watch you guys, that laptop. All right, guys. Well, I think we've about covered it. How am I slowly rebuilding from damage I did myself by overdoing? Yeah, it's easy done. It wouldn't be smart to pick a fight with Greg. He is us a big string dude. All righty, guys. Hey, we're going to go here. I want to thank you all for watching. And with that, I'm finally tonight going to say, Greg out.